since university.
Fun, insightful interviews from a watchdog producer. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Now, here's Rob McKnight.
Hello and good evening and welcome to McKnight Tonight for this Thursday, the 28th of August, 2025. It is so great to have your company. I hope you had a good day. You know, today happens to be Rainbow Bridge Remembrance Day. It's a moment where we stop to honour the pets we've loved and lost. So, sorry, don't mean to start on a bit of a downer, but pets they have such an important part in our lives, and it's nice to remember them. I'll certainly take this moment to remember old Amanda, our dog who died earlier this year. So we still miss her, don't we? Yeah, we do. All right, don't forget you can catch the full show and extras on our YouTube channel. Just head to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight and hit subscribe. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you put your comments there in the comment section of this video. And buy a mug. Yeah, I've still got mugs. Who can believe it? I've still got mugs. There's a post there because, like everything with Google, there's a problem with the shop and all that. There's a post there that gives you a link on how to buy a mug. So get the McKnight Tonight mug. Overpriced, but a lot of fun. Good selling point, isn't it? All right, what's coming up tonight, I hear you ask? I'm so glad you asked. Well, I'll find out more about the sovereign citizen movement that's making waves in Australia as Australia reels from the death of 2 police officers. Plus, a sperm shortage crisis. Should we be paying men to donate? And Snoop Dogg under fire over homophobic comments. But just wait until you hear the full context of what he said, because it might just change your perception about what's being written. Okay, let's get into our hot topics. And should we pay men to donate sperm? Yeah, it's a provocative question, but one fertility experts say we can't ignore as Australia faces a major donor shortage. In Victoria, the number of sperm donors has plunged by more than 20% over the last 5 years. Last year alone saw another 21% drop. The result, growing wait lists, couples left in limbo, and clinics increasingly relying on imported sperm from overseas. Right now, Australian law only allows sperm donation on an altruistic basis. Donors can have expenses reimbursed, but there's no payment for the donation itself. But with supply dwindling, some specialists argue it's time to rethink that rule and put money back on the table. I've got to be honest, I didn't know we couldn't pay for sperm. There's an old joke in Friends where Joey was donating sperm and they made a joke he was making money hand over fist. But I think the biggest problem in this country, why people don't want to donate sperm, is because it's not an anonymous donation anymore. You might remember that since the early 2000s, every state and territory in Australia has moved to ban anonymous sperm and egg donation. So that means a child conceived with donor sperm has the legal right to know their donor's identity once they reach maturity or when they reach 18. So in Victoria, Victoria has the strictest system. They abolished anonymous donation in 1998 and later passed laws, this was in 2016, giving all donor-conceived people, even those conceived before 1998, the right to identifying information about their donor unless the donor filed a contact veto. New South Wales, Queensland, WA, SA and Tas, children conceived after the bans were introduced can access identifying information once they turn 18. Each jurisdiction maintains a central donor register. In the ACT and Northern Territory, similar provisions apply, though the systems are less centralised. So if you are donating sperm, sure, isn't it fair enough to not want to have any contact? You're doing this, well, you're not getting paid for it, which I think we should pay for it. You're providing a service. You should be paid. And this idea that kids can come back and knock on your door and say, you're my father. I mean, that's not why people are doing this. The states have themselves to blame for why donations are lower. It is a risk, and I think it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous that they retroactively put this legislation in that meant that people who had gone and donated sperm thinking it was anonymous, can be contacted. I think that is absolutely outrageous. The fact is you're giving someone a chance at life, but these people aren't wanting to be part of that life. Now, you can make whatever judgment you want about that, but that's a decision they've made as part of this process. And yet we sit here and say, well, we have to identify them. The kids have a right. Well, okay, but that means fewer kids because fewer people are donating. You know, we cause these issues upon ourselves and then say, how are we going to fix it? We have to pay people. Well, fix it by not identifying. Now, just to be clear, if you have been born, conceived because of a sperm donor, you can't go and then demand money and financial support from the person who donated the sperm. But you do have a right to know who they are. And I just think that is a problem. I understand that you may want to know about your DNA, your history, medical history, and all that kind of stuff. But if it becomes a choice of not being conceived at all and not having that information, well, surely we'd go for not having that information. We have to make some hard decisions because the sperm's coming from other places that may not have the same protocols that we have and even the same level of tests to make sure the sperm's okay. And we are now facing a situation where more people are relying on IVF and conception is getting harder for whatever reason. So if we want to keep this nation going with Australian sperm, whatever Australia is, we have to rethink the rules and regulations around it. Okay, let me know your thoughts in the comment section of this video. We'd love to hear from you, especially if you're watching McKnight Tonight for the first time or you've never left a comment. Tonight is your night. I'll get to your feedback shortly. It's a great community. All right. Well, it's only taken 129 years, but the AFL can now say it has a male player who has publicly identified themselves as gay or bisexual. Today, former West Coast player Mitch Brown made the announcement via the Daily Oz. Until now, no male player, past or present, has ever publicly identified as gay or bisexual. Brown apparently made the revelation after reading coverage of recent homophobic incidents within the AFL. One of those recent events included the 4-week suspension of Adelaide Crows star Isaac Rankin for 4 matches over a highly offensive homophobic slur directed towards a Collingwood player. Now, the announcement by Brown is a good start for the AFL, which has never seen a current player admit to being gay or bisexual. Insiders believe the reason for that is because of a culture of homophobia still existing within the sport, despite what those running the game would have fans believe. Which brings me to the ongoing issue of Snoop Dogg. Ever since the performer was announced as the entertainment for the grand final, news outlets have been gunning for him to be cancelled over a perception of not being family friendly. And in a case of very bad timing, Snoop Dogg has himself been accused of homophobia over comments on the It's Giving podcast when he was talking about the depiction of a lesbian couple in the Buzz Lightyear movie. That's led to further calls for him to be dropped, including from Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young. Now, by all accounts, those comments have been edited out of the podcast. I went and had a look at and listened to it. It goes for an hour, but the comments have been removed. But I have them. And when you listen to the full context, you might not think his comments are as homophobic as has been made out by the media. Let's have a listen.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz, the Lightyear. I think it's
yeah,
called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
What'd you tell him?
Watch the movie. Eat this popcorn. Shh.
You said we don't know. We don't know.
It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age. Like,
That part.
they're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask. I don't have the answer.
Yeah. And I don't even know the answer that's rehearsed. What am I supposed to say? What was the lady used to be I got questions. Now I
Me
got
too.
questions.
And I was just there to go to sleep and watch the movie. That nigga woke me up. I'm in there. Huh? They just said that she had a baby. How? They both women's. Oh, man, damn. Here, eat this popcorn.
Okay, so are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? That he's not saying it's bad that there is a same-sex couple. He's saying that in a movie with kids, he doesn't want to be having that conversation. Now, you might agree with him or maybe not, but those concerns were shared by the public. It actually led to headlines like this: same-sex couple in Disney Pixar's Lightyear sparks controversy. It became a major issue for the film, which was a box office flop. Now, was it because of this issue? I don't know. I haven't seen the film. But can you bring up my laptop, please, Amanda? I've done a Google here, right? And if you look at it, I'll enlarge it a bit. There we go. Oh, sorry, hang on. All right, I'll enlarge it a bit. Snoop Dogg slammed over homophobic slur. Calls for rapper Snoop Dogg to be dropped from the AFL. This one down here, Snoop Dogg exposed as homophobic after lamenting about Snoop Dogg's LGBTQ remarks spark backlash. Now, again, he's talking about the fact he's watching a movie with his grandson, who's obviously young. They're watching Buzz Lightyear, and a question is being asked about how two women had a baby. It's a big question, you know. Now, I personally don't have a problem with two same-sex relationship being put into this movie. I don't have a problem with it. But there are enough people that it has become an issue, as I just showed you. So he is actually a reflection of a concern out there. So if you want Snoop banned because of comments he's made, these aren't the comments. The AFL might have a homophobia problem, and it's great that a player has come out today and put it out there, their own sexuality. We're still missing a current player doing that. Maybe that will come with time. But also, no one should be forced to come out if they don't want to do that. But it is a shame that that can't be a position of safety within the AFL if people do feel that way. But as far as Snoop goes, I don't understand the controversy here. I actually also think they made a big mistake by deleting it because it seems like they're trying to hide something. To me, the female host had a bigger concern because she was starting to bring transgender into it, which had nothing to do with anything. And then she realized she was making a mistake. But I watched that in context, and I do not have a problem with what he said. I don't agree with it, but I don't have a problem with it. It wasn't coming out as homophobia. It was just like, I wanted to sleep on the couch and I didn't want to have that discussion. Isn't that fair enough? Isn't it?
Here comes McKnight tonight.
Well, as I always say, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. They're coming up very, very soon, as well as our random live shot of the day. And we will take a serious side when we get to know what's going on with these sovereign citizens. How did it get to this? What's happened in the last 24 to 48 hours? Just crazy stuff. All right, but first, I feel like having a bit of a rant. Yes, it's time for Rob's rant. And have you ever heard the saying, there are three sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth? I think that is the biggest load of crock I've ever heard. People say it all the time. When there are two opposing arguments about something that they've witnessed, they will say that because recollections may vary. But the problem is, it doesn't take into the account someone might be lying. I've been in situations where I have delivered the absolute truth, and this person is lying about the situation, lying about what they knew. And the person has said, well, you know, there are three sides to every story. Your side, my side, and the truth. So the truth lies somewhere in between. What a crock of poo. No, it doesn't. The truth is the truth. Just because they might lie or have a bad recollection, that doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. I think something like that needs to be put in the bin here. Actually, it just needs to be like thrown away because it's bullshit. There's the truth, nothing but the truth. Whether you believe that person or whether you believe me. One of us is telling the truth. You have to decide who you believe. That's where credibility, history, all those kind of things, who do you believe is telling the truth? None of this two sides to every story. Sometimes people just lie. Why can't we just agree that some people are assholes and they will just say anything to get out of trouble? No. So I'm officially putting it in the bin. No more there are three sides to every story, your side, my side, and the truth. There's only Rob's way, the right way, because we all know McKnight is always right. Play the sting. All right, as I said, there is still plenty ahead on this edition of McKnight Tonight. But first of all, it's time for a random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
Yes, it's our random live shot of the day, and tonight we're heading to the United States-Canada border for one of the world's most famous natural wonders, Niagara Falls. 3 waterfalls combine here, Horseshoe Falls, American Falls, and the smaller Bridal Veil Falls, that creating the highest flow rate of any waterfall in North America. More than 700,000 gallons of water a second clash over the edge, sending up that iconic mist. It's also a place of history. Niagara was the birthplace of large-scale hydroelectricity thanks to Tesla and Westinghouse, and it even stopped flowing once back in 1848 when an ice jam upstream blocked the water. But tonight, the falls are in full roar, a spectacular sight for our random live shot of the day. And what I love, it is about 7:17 in the morning. It's not, it's exactly 7:17 in the morning, probably 7:18 by the time the stream goes from here to YouTube and everywhere. And there's a beautiful the sunrise is coming through, hitting it very nicely. Beautiful shot. Now, when it comes to feedback tonight, what do you think the biggest, in all the topics we've spoken about, what do you think the biggest issue is? Where's Jeanette? Jeanette is not here tonight, and she didn't warn us. She always tells us when she's not going to be here. So where is she? I don't know. Jeanette, I might give her a call. Find out what, should I give her a call? I think I've got a number. I'm going to do it. Jeanette. Yeah, I got her number. I'm doing it. You know what I did? I put the microphone there because I thought I had a mic on. How long have we been? Oh, this is great TV.
Has been forwarded to voicemail.
Oh, no. I will get to the bottom of this. We will find out what has happened to Jeanette. All right, let's get to your feedback in the meantime. We have this one from Justine. Hello, everyone. Happy hump day. Thank you, Justine. Over the page we go. We've got Own You're Crazy. This is about the sperm donation. Not being anonymous wouldn't have bothered me. I don't have children of my own, so it would have been nice to know one day I'd meet a fully formed version of myself. Yeah, that's interesting. Hang on, there's breaking news. Jasmine, Jeanette is there. Jeanette, where have you been? We've all been worried. And why did you ignore my call? Hey, Jeanette. Hang on. You know me, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Hi, Mum.
Jeanette, where have you been? We've all been worried.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
What?
I've been carrying up a lot of issues of dropping off oxygen.
Oh. Oh,
Yes.
okay, so you were doing some good deeds.
Well, I'm sleeping, but yeah. It's only because I've had a lot of oxygen dropping, and I'm going to go for some tests soon.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry about that. Well, look, the community, the McKnight Tonight community love you, darling, because seriously, everyone's been saying, "Where's Jeanette?" Because you're always there an hour early on the YouTube. So we missed you, and look, I will have a private conversation with you later. I hope you're well. Have a good night.
Yeah. No, come on now.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Jeanette. Oh, sorry. I think I hung up a bit soon there. Sorry. And that's our McKnight Tonight community. We love you guys. We love you all. So good to see Jeanette's back there. All right, let's continue with the feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. And Nicole says you don't get paid to donate blood. You get a cuppa and a snack. So why donors for sperm, or maybe give them a cuppa and snack too? You know, it's interesting, Nicole. Maybe there is a blood donation crisis, and maybe it would be worth giving money to people, but you do get to keep your anonymity when you donate blood. I donate blood. Interestingly, I've got too much iron or something, and so when I give blood, I actually feel vibey. It's everything, everything's reversed with me. If I have a can of V, I feel tired because of the ADHD. So stimulants make me tired, but I give blood and whoosh, I get a high. Who needs drugs? I donate blood. All right. I don't know why I told you that. Dylan says, hard one. If I was in that position, I'd want to know who was my biological father. And I get that. I genuinely get that, Dylan, that people would want to know. Michael T says, so should people be donating blood and organs be identified? It is not compulsory to donate, so why is it compulsory to identify? Yes, Michael, I agree with you there. Over the page we go. Gareth, and did I see... Oh, no. 129 years and it's still just an ex-player. It's very odd considering how progressive Victoria is. Good for him. Gareth, a really, really good point. And I think that's one of the things here that, at least a former player's come out. But, I showed that headline, which was from Louise Milligan at Four Corners, that says there is still a stigma and still homophobia within the AFL, which is a sad shame because I do think the AFL is trying to do the right things, but it's obviously not working within the player ranks. All right, we've got this one from Own Your Crazy. So help me, Rob. I mean, God. You don't need God, you've got Rob. Mum, hello, Mum. In courts, there is only two sides. Yes, that's true, Mum. But once again, McKnight is right. You should share that thought. Over the page we go. Dylan says, Rob needs a judge's gavel for that line. I used to have one. The kids have done something. I'll have to get a new one. Justine says, unfortunately, people lie all the time. It could be intentional, could be bad memory, or simply not paying enough attention. Until people slow down and listen before responding, it will only continue to get worse. A scary thought for the future. Absolutely, Justine. Thank you for your feedback. All right. Still plenty ahead on this edition of McKnight Tonight. There's been a lot happening in the news today. I'm going to get to that. And then we'll do some more feedback. So keep leaving your feedback in the comments section. More feedback coming up. We'll try this one.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Well, Australia is reeling tonight after two Victoria police officers were murdered in cold blood during a warrant operation in the state's northeast. As you can imagine, this story is dominating headlines around the country and around the world. Just after 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, a team of 10 officers went to a rural property on Rainer Track at Purapunga. They went there to execute a court-approved search warrant linked to historic child sex abuse allegations. As police approached a dwelling on the property, a gunman opened fire. A 59-year-old detective and a 35-year-old senior constable were killed. A third officer was shot in the leg and airlifted to hospital. Police have launched a massive manhunt for 56-year-old Desi Bird Freeman, a self-declared sovereign citizen. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous, with specialist units, air support and hundreds of officers scouring rugged terrain around Mount Buffalo. Residents have been told to stay indoors as the search continues. Authorities say Freeman's partner and children made contact with police and presented at a station last night. They are not believed to be with the suspect. Freeman has a documented history of anti-authority, pseudo-legal beliefs, including a prior incident in which he attempted to place a magistrate under citizen's arrest.
Okay, but I arrest you for acting oppressively and when interested and perverting the course of justice. You must stand down. You are now in my custody and under... Does this court obey the law, sir?
Just have a seat.
Does this court obey the law?
Have a seat.
Even just once?
Have a seat.
Now, experts warn these sovereign citizen ideologies reject the legitimacy of police, courts and government and can escalate to violence. To help us understand the movement, the threat profile and what can be done to prevent copycat violence, I'm joined by Associate Professor Joe McIntyre, a constitutional law expert. Professor, welcome to McKnight Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's begin with the very basics. What is a sovereign citizen?
So a sovereign citizen is a particular type of this broader movement of pseudo-law. So sovereign citizen movement itself originated in the US in the late 1990s, and some of these ideas spread out through North America and eventually to Australia in the early to mid 2000s. So what's unclear is whether Desi Freeman identifies as a sovereign citizen or as part of the broader sovereign citizen movement, and there's a bit of a distinction there. What we really need to understand, though, is that the broader movement of pseudo-law has a series of beliefs that are essentially that the law can be understood in a way that allows these adherents to avoid their legal obligations and the part of the law they don't like. So in those clips, you've just seen someone using legal language. It looks like they're doing law, but this is legally meaningless, but it's got that appearance of law. And so these people genuinely believe that they have the law on their side, that they are doing the lawful thing, but it allows them to avoid obligations they don't like.
And we see this all the time, don't we? There are so many videos online of these sovereign citizens when they're stopped by police saying, you don't have the authority, I invoke sovereign citizenship. I mean, it doesn't have any legal standing whatsoever, does it?
No, these arguments don't succeed anywhere in the world. There is no legal basis whatsoever, but these people really genuinely believe that it's legally meaningful. So they think they've got access to the real law and that everyone else is misunderstanding it. And again, in that clip, the accused says, have you ever obeyed the law in this court? They think that the law is something that even the judges get wrong. So on one level, that is humorous. We can laugh at it.
And is that what I'm trying to understand here is what is it down to an interpretation of the law or they don't accept our law? What is their actual point?
Look, this is all often very confused. The core idea is that they think this is what the real law is, and that what we understand as our law has in some ways been corrupted. That at some point the law was corrupted and no longer represents the true law. So whether that's because we're a corporation or because we should be using admiralty law or we should have some common law as a higher authority, some of them believe that we have to have individual consent for every single law and that if we withdraw that consent, we don't have to obey the law anymore. There's this whole grab bag of legal arguments. They all genuinely believe them. They just have no legal meaning.
We have a long way to go in this situation about what investigations will find and exactly what happened. So I say that before I ask my next question, but it's one thing to have these beliefs, but how does it end up as a justification for 2 dead police officers, as alleged to have been done by this individual? That obviously has to be proven, but is it a case of he believes he has sovereign rights over his property? What gives him in his head or any people like this the rights to do that?
So there is that idea that they have some sovereign rights. So you see this with the people that are driving. I'm driving a private vehicle. Yeah. I'm traveling in my private vehicle. You've got no right to be there. This is the idea that they've got some irrevocable sovereignty that can't be taken away. And they extend those same beliefs to their own private property. That they can do what they want on their property. That's simply not how our law works, but to a certain mindset, that sounds really appealing. But the problem is once you start picking and choosing which laws you obey, You start corroding any authority of the law and your own commitment to it. So why do they bother having gun registration? Why do they bother driving with a license if that license has been revoked? But that doesn't matter because, I don't believe in the authority of the state. So we start to see people being really fast and loose with order, and that itself has some inherent threat to, good order in our society, the half step away from violence. We've seen violence like this in the States. We've seen several police murders in the States by these individuals. And we've seen threats in Australia, death threats against judges. We've seen cases of weapons. We've seen violence being quite present in some of these movements.
How big is the sovereign citizen footprint in Australia compared to, say, the US, and has it grown post-pandemic?
So we actually don't know. One of the problem is, how do we define the movement? Is it just pseudo-law, sovereign citizen? Is it the broader pseudo-law movement? We just don't know. We've tracked in court cases. We've seen a massive growth in South Australia, for example, over 100 reported cases alone in the last couple of years. Really significant growth in our courts, and absolutely explosive growth post-COVID. That seems to have been a real radicalizing event for a lot of people.
That's an interesting correlation. Do these ideologies specifically prime followers to see police as illegitimate in a way and therefore as targets?
Look, pseudo-law beliefs cross the political spectrum from far left to far right. There's people right in the middle who are not particularly radicalized in that violent sense, but just see the law or certain aspects of it as illegitimate. But we certainly see quite a common theme is that police are an object of derision. This is a visible point in which state authority is being exercised. And if you're suspicious about the authority of the state, it's really an easy step to see that the police are a target of your ire.
So what is it about sovereign citizenship that appeals to these people? If you saw this guy on a current affair, Channel 9 played clips from a current affair. I went back and watched the original story and he wasn't in it that much, but he seems like a normal guy. He seems like your next door neighbor who was having an issue with his neighbors. He seemed like a normal guy. How is this movement penetrating people? Why is it appealing to them?
Sure. So I think what we see is it's been spread a lot through social media. A lot of it was spread, as I said, through COVID. There was some super spreader events like the Convoy to Canberra, where these people all came together and these ideas were shared and then went back to the regions. Why is it attractive to people? Well, most people want to believe that they're good people. They want to believe that they are law-abiding, that they are good citizens, they are good members of society. So we want to be good people, but we want to avoid obligations that we don't like. I don't want to get the jab. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to pay my taxes because I don't think it's legitimate. Pseudo-law offers this false promise, but this magical promise that I can be a good citizen and choose which laws I obey. So if I invoke the right legal spell, I can avoid obligations I don't like. That's a really beguiling, powerful concept. So you get people who, in their mind, are good citizens, are doing the good thing, but now I don't have to pay the tax that I don't want to. I don't have to obey the laws that I don't want to. So I think we can see that that's the mix that becomes really dangerous here.
It's fascinating stuff. And obviously the events of the last 24 to 48 hours have brought this into the spotlight, this movement. Associate Professor Joe McIntyre, thank you so much for joining us on McKnight Tonight.
My pleasure.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Yeah, fascinating, wasn't it? There's a lot to happen here. I've been keeping an eye on the news websites. There's been no breaking news. Earlier tonight, there were some loud bangs heard from the property. It looked like there was a police operation going on, but we haven't had any details from that. Just witnesses, journalists that are there, they all heard the loud bang. So we'll see what happens with that over the next few days and see if this man is caught and can face justice, face the courts and go through the whole thing. All right. let's take a look at your feedback that is coming through to McKnight Tonight. And we've got this one from Gareth in regards to me having high iron. McKnight is a secret Iron Man. I've certainly never been called that before. Dylan, that was horrible to hear in terms of what happened to those 2 police officers and the third in hospital, of course. But yes, we have lost 2 police officers in the line of duty while they were trying to serve a warrant. And that warrant was for historic sexual assault allegations. So we'll see what happens. Michael T says, commentators, please remember that the person accused is alleged and not guilty until proven in court. That's a very good point, Michael, and you'll notice that I made that point while I was talking to the associate professor as well. All right, over the page we go. Own Your Crazy says, I have encountered the language of a sovereign citizenship through my work, typesetting rubber stamps. Much of what I have had to transcribe bamboozles me. Very esoteric, legal sounding language. Yeah, that's what it's all about, and they think they know what they're talking about. Michael T says, what I will say is that Trumpism and COVID-19 lockdowns have empowered disenfranchised citizens to feel comfortable to use their own negative life experiences as an excuse to ignore law and order. There is truth in that, Michael. There is absolute truth in that statement. Thank you for your feedback. Nicole says, so is Trump a sovereign citizen? He makes up his own rules. The difference is, Nicole, he runs the United States. He is the president, and he's making up more rules than he's supposed to, but he seems to be getting away with it. Over the page we go. Dylan says, great interview, Rob. Learned a few things. Thank you, Dylan. Really appreciate that. And one more. Own Your Crazy says, I often wonder if sovereign citizens recruit by playing on people's grievances, insecurities, and prejudices. And Dylan, I've just seen here, do we have a back-end quickie tonight? No, I only do back-end quickies if I'm in the mood. No, I only do a back-end quickie if I find something that's worthy of being there. You know, I see lots of things on the net, but nothing that's really taken my fancy as a back-end quickie, and I don't want to force it. I want it to feel natural. I want it to feel good when we play them. So no back-end quickie tonight. Send me suggestions. I'm everywhere on the socials. I'm like at Rob_McKnight on X. I'm Robert_McKnight on Instagram and TikTok. You all know where I am on Facebook, on the McKnight Tonight Facebook page. There's really no excuse for you not to send me suggestions. So let's see if we can come up with a back-end quickie to end the week on Tipsy Thursday, which is tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, okay. So tomorrow, I will most likely have Amanda Howard here. We've sort of discussed it. It hasn't 100% been locked in, but is Garth Brooks a serial killer? May sound crazy, but there is evidence to suggest that he is. We'll go through that tomorrow. But until then, it's good night from McKnight. Thank you for all your feedback. Jeanette, much love. Thank you for being with us. It's good night. We will see you tomorrow. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good night.
It's good night from McKnight Tonight.